Hey Marvel fans, thank you very much for joining me. Today in the Marvel Movie Marathon, I'm going to be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which is once again written and directed by James Gunn and sees the return of all your favourite space misfits coming together to defend the galaxy. You can expect plenty of pop songs, speeches about chosen families, as well as lots and lots and lots of forced laughter. Let's talk about it. Before we get started, I just want to issue a spoiler warning for you guys because I will be talking like plot and character details, which could be considered spoilers if you haven't seen Volume 2. When it comes to the MCU, the films which are second in their franchises, like Iron Man 2, Thor 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is Ant-Man 2, and the Avengers Age of Ultron, Avengers 2, they all weren't as good as their first outings. It's quite a common occurrence that the second feature is usually the worst. While I will say that Guardians of the Galaxy isn't as good as the first Guardians, I would say it's a pretty solid sequel and probably one of the better second entries of all the MCU movies. The only exception to the rule, in my opinion, is Captain America the Winter Soldier, which is awesome. If you don't agree with me, let me know in the comment section down below. This was actually only the second time I ever watched Guardians of the Galaxy 2. The first time was back in cinemas when it was released. Weirdly now though, I think I actually enjoyed it more on a rewatch than I did the first time I saw it. Maybe it's because I've watched them back to back, but I definitely enjoyed it more than I thought I would. And that's great because my appreciation levels for the Marvel movies have sometimes gone down, but this one's actually gone up. The trick to a decent sequel is to give the audience more of the same, but build upon the characters and the story in a satisfying way. And that's exactly what James Gunn did with Volume 2. In fact, one can make the argument that James Gunn copied the formula of one of the best sequels of all time, and a film that's not too dissimilar from Guardians of the Galaxy, Empire Strikes Back. Because the similarities between these two films are uncanny. Like Empire Strikes Back, this film starts with a battle which the characters then escape. They then divide amongst themselves and split up for the majority of the movie. Star-Lord, as a stand-in for Luke Skywalker, learns about his powers as well as the identity of his father. In this case, it's Ego, played by Kurt Russell, who is a stand-in for Darth Vader, and Ego wants to groom his son so they can both rule the galaxy together. Just for added measure, there's also jumps through the galaxy. Jump to light speed, anybody? They have to navigate an asteroid field? Now that's just straight up plagiarism. Drax jumps into an alien monster's mouth, which is essentially an inverted version of this shot, and Star-Lord and Gamora finally express their romantic feelings towards each other in a very stubborn Han and Leia fashion. Is anybody else getting deja vu? I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing. If it works, it works. But it does feel a little bit derivative, even if it's on a subconscious level. But overall, I really enjoyed Guardians 2 because, firstly, the character development is fantastic. I really appreciate that they went into more detail about the backstory between Gamora and Nebula. That sister dynamic was really interesting in the first film, but they didn't go very deep with it. However, here, it's explored more, and I really enjoyed what I learned. I came to really like the character of Nebula in this film after learning about her tragic past with their father Thanos and what he would make Gamora and Nebula do to each other. She's more just misunderstood than anything. The new characters are also welcomed additions, like Klementiff's empath character Mantis. I really liked her affinity with the character of Drax and their back and forth under the radar insults at each other. That was really heartwarming. Kurt Russell as Ego is definitely a step up in terms of MCU villains. He's very charismatic here in that Kurt Russell way. He starts out really strong. He has some really good scenes with Chris Pratt. However, towards the end, his character just sort of devolves into a typical villain who's like a megalomaniac and wants to rule the galaxy, so it's not very inspired. But all credit to Kurt Russell, he does give a good performance. But Michael Rooker as Yondu might actually have the most satisfying character development in this film. He kind of steals the whole film because his character gets so texturized here. We learn more about why he kidnapped Peter Quill when he was a little boy and why he didn't deliver him to Ego. And it makes you realize, oh, he really was Peter's father figure growing up. He just didn't know it at the time because he kidnapped him and kept threatening to eat him. It's just tough love, Peter. But yeah, the reason Yondu's character arc feels so satisfying is because it comes to an actual end. MCU character devs don't always carry a lot of weight because more often than not, they just bring the characters back. Death doesn't really mean a whole lot in the MCU. But this really was a final ending for Yondu, and it's hands down one of the most emotional moments in the entire MCU. So we've talked character development. Second reason why this film is so good is that it's just as funny as the first one. Some of my favourite funny moments in this film have to be Taserface, Drax and his sensitive nipples, Baby Groot coming back with an assortment of items, including a human toe, and of course, who could forget this hilarious line? I'm Mary Poppins, y'all! I'm Mary Poppins, y'all! As for negatives, the film's finale is one gigantic CGI extravaganza, and after a while it just gets a little bit samey. Like its predecessor, there's a lot of intended 3D shots, which are a little bit gimmicky now, especially when you watch it in 2D on Disney+. And there's a few bits in this film which just prompt the okay response from me. So Gamora's blade is strong enough to penetrate the space octopus, but no other blade is? Okay. I know Drax is strong, but after being dragged through a forest, he doesn't even have a scratch on him. Okay. See what I mean? Logic be damned. But while this is a really enjoyable sequel, it just doesn't have that surprise wow factor of the first. The reason we enjoyed Guardians 1 so much is because it was new and unexpected, but you just can't replicate that same surprise with a sequel. It's a fundamental flaw of sequels. It's kind of like when my family and I went to Disney World for a second holiday. It was still an amazing holiday, but it never hit the same heights as the first trip because it wasn't a new experience anymore. Right, question time. Would I recommend it or skip it? Recommend. It's definitely one of the stronger second entries in the MCU, and it's a decent enough watch, even though it doesn't hit the same heights as the first film. So I'm gonna say watch it. And question 2, what score do I give it out of 10? I'm gonna give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 a score of 7 out of 10. But as always guys, this is just one bloke's opinion. What did you guys think of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2? What score would you give it out of 10? Whatever your thoughts and opinions are, pop them in the comment section down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. If you want more movie and TV content just like this, then do hit subscribe. If you want to follow me on any social media, Twitter, Instagram, it's all in the video description down below. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. For more things related to movies, TV, and popcorn culture, I'm Luke Airfield, and I'll see you next time.